Shekochech, Cantor Fishman, beautiful as always. Shabbat Shalom to everyone. You'll see I'm in my office. This is not a virtual background. Why I'm in my office, a few technical glitches this morning led me to believe that this was my best option for participating in this way today, and we'll try to work those out during the week. And I have to say that sometimes it's good to see what you're experiencing as well, both in terms of helping lead a service, but in terms of the views and the ways that you're experiencing this as well. So I'm learning as I'm going, as we all are. And I'm reminding myself as well that even with glitches and even with changes of location and some things that may be less than fully ideal, it is still a wonderful thing that we're able to connect in this way. And the technology has held up and in this way allowed us to stick together. So I hope you don't mind the background. I don't mind my office, and we'll share a few thoughts with you this morning. And again, I wish you Shabbat Shalom. So one rabbinic colleague who does not live or work locally, I just want to clarify that, tells the story of why he did not get a PhD in the following way. He says, see, there's a language requirement, and I decided to try German. But even after a full year of study, the only thing I could say in that language is today I am a donut. And that's when I decided to give up on getting the PhD and focus on being a rabbi instead. Even smart people can struggle with acquiring another language, which is why we should give a lot of credit to anyone who succeeds in this, including all of those, like some of you, who continue to improve your Hebrew reading and understanding, even if it's not your native tongue. Special acknowledgement goes to our adult Jews by choice, for whom learning to read Hebrew is a requirement that all of them tackle to the best of their ability. Some of you probably noticed that the story I told you about my German challenged colleague is based on another one. By most accounts, a misconception of what President John F. Kennedy said in Berlin on June 26, 1963, in front of a crowd of some 120,000 Germans. All free men, wherever they may live, are citizens of Berlin. And therefore, as a free man, I take pride in the words, Ich bin ein Berliner. I am a citizen of Berlin. He said that twice in its speech, and they were its last words. Urban legend and unkind reviews say that the use of the word ein changes the meaning of what Kennedy said to I am a jelly donut. But experts say it is not the case. And Kennedy said this in an acceptable way. It is considered a masterpiece of Cold War oratory and presidential speech making, some of which he rewrote that day, even though it had been carefully crafted for weeks, if not months before. And it came in at a touch under 9 minutes, even with a simultaneous translation. This simple phrase, I am, is a very powerful one. It shows more than empathy, which is the sense that we have some understanding of the feelings of another person. To say I am also seeks to communicate that we are willing, at least symbolically, to say your experience is also mine. That we consider ourselves in that moment to be them. If someone else is persecuted or in pain, then we are too. I'm sure you've felt this at times. I'm sure you've seen brave people put their own lives, their own freedom on the line to live this radical solidarity. Right now, in this moment, your struggles and your aspirations are also mine. I am not just with you as much as I can be, I am you. I'm going to share a series of examples of this, some heavier and some lighter. One somewhat heavy one that I carry with me is that when IDF soldier Gilad Shalit sat in captivity, many Israelis changed their social media profile pictures to his picture. Did it help him? I don't know. But it was one way people could say in a small way, if he is a prisoner, then we are as well. A much lighter example is from a wonderful 1997 movie starring Kevin Kline called In and Out. He plays a teacher in a small and ostensibly conservative town who slowly discovers that he is gay. The school board fires him because that was a thing not so long ago. And at graduation, one by one, his students and colleagues and then town members stand up and declare, I'm gay too. You should watch it for that, and also for the unforgettable scene where he tries and fails to not dance to the song I Will Survive. Since we covered Germany, let's move across the Rhine River into France. You recall, I'm sure, the terrible and vicious attack on the satirical newspaper Charlie Hebdo in Paris in January of 2015, in which 10 people were killed. One reason you remember that is because 2 days later, in a related attack on a kosher supermarket, 4 people were murdered. These attacks followed the publication by that magazine of satirical cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad. Last week, the trial of the surviving attackers and those who provided them with logistical support concluded, with 14 being found guilty of crimes, sentenced to a variety of prison terms. Last September, at the beginning of the trial, Charlie Hebdo republished the cartoons, ostensibly to remind everyone about the principles at stake, lest the violence be somehow justified at trial in the name of defense of religious practice. Such violence in the name of religion is to us, of course, inexcusable and unconscionable. Whether or not we think that the right to publish these cartoons, which are offensive to many, should have been exercised. In Judaism and in ethics generally, there is a phrase that I like very much. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you necessarily should. Be that as it may, the aftermath of the attacks led to one of the most memorable slogans of the era, which was Je suis Charlie. And even if your French isn't great, as mine is not great, even after 6 years of it in junior high school and high school, you know that it means I am Charlie. Soon after, the opposite slogan was also coined. Je ne suis pas Charlie. I am not Charlie. As the New York Times reported just this week, the competing perspectives gave rise to the question, are you or are you not Charlie? The answer puts people on either side of France's major fault lines, including freedom of speech, secularism, race, national identity, and of course, Islam. I would say I am Charlie in connection to separating religion and state, affirming freedom of expression, and seeking a peaceful and productive coexistence between people of a variety of backgrounds and beliefs, even when that conversation turns difficult. But I am not Charlie in that just as I would not want to see cartoons depicting Jews in a negative or nefarious light, I do not want to see that representation of other religions either. And I do not want those whose commitment to living a devout religious life and those who choose to live in an entirely secular way to be seen as at loggerheads with each other, as two worldviews that will always conflict. So perhaps I am mostly Charlie, and also a little bit not. The expression I am does not really exist in Hebrew. There is no word for am, just as there is no word for is. Both are implied, but not stated. And one example of this appears in this week's Parsha, Vayigash. There are many places in the Joseph story where without it, the narrative could not continue, could not even exist. Some say that moment is when Jacob gave Joseph a coat, instigating a jealous rage among his brothers. Or maybe it was when Joseph went looking for his brothers and an unnamed stranger pointed him in their direction. Without him, maybe Joseph never finds them in their agitated state. Or perhaps it was when the butler remembers Joseph's talent for dream interpretation, which allows him to be brought forth from prison. I have another one for the list, and it's from today's reading. Judah has stepped forward to volunteer to be taken as a prisoner, a hostage, a slave, whatever this Egyptian ruler wants, if only he lets Benjamin go. Well, Yitz Greenberg wrote this week that the narrative does not make it clear that Joseph is inclined to forgive his brothers. This act of Judah's selflessness and maturity, growth and loyalty that was previously missing, it clearly pierces the heart. Everyone is told to leave, and the man says, Ani Yosef, I am Joseph. I am your brother who you left behind. I am the son of our common father. I am the one who has been evaluating you from behind this royal mask. I am Joseph, and I am ready for us to be a family again. So tell me, is my father alive? Joseph has to reveal himself for the story to reach its needed resolution. He has to claim his identity and affirm that he forgives. And all of that is encapsulated in 2 Hebrew and 3 English words, Ani Yosef, I am Joseph. Since we spent some time in Europe today, let's end there as well. In 1637, while living in the Netherlands, French-born philosopher René Descartes published his most famous phrase for the first time, translated from the Latin as, I think, therefore I am. Our Jewish tradition does not have the same problem with affirming our existence as some schools of philosophy do. We know that we are children of a loving God who put us on this earth for a reason, which is to build lives and communities of meaning while striving to protect and improve it as well. I would switch a couple of Descartes' words around to better represent my understanding of this Jewish and maybe this human mission. I am, therefore I think. I think about how to best serve, learn, grow, and make some positive difference for others as we live out the 3-word affirmation made by martyred journalist Daniel Pearl and by millions more who have sought solace in and lived by the guidance of our sacred and beautiful tradition. Those three powerful words: I am Jewish. Shabbat Shalom. We'll continue with Musaf, which begins Chatzi Kaddish, page 155.
Yasher Koach, Rabbi. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברי קיותי וימליך